This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
We'll have to work through that. If there's going to be a deal, we're going to have to work through that.
It is not the first time we are witnessing these contradictions from the United States.
The Iranians are playing for time. I just don't see how this, quote, deal is going to materialize.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Unhappy camper. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. With efforts to work a peace deal between the U.S. and Iran seemingly hitting one speed bump after another, President Trump has called a highly unusual full cabinet meeting for tomorrow at Camp David, a place Trump rarely visits. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will be among those there, reporting to him on the challenges of trying to get Iran to strike a meaningful deal.
It's going to take a couple days to settle on, even down to the disagreements over a word, sentence. So we'll have to work through that. If there's going to be a deal, we're going to have to work through that.
Things got more complicated over the weekend with the U.S. hitting Iranian targets in and around the Strait of Hormuz, saying the Iranians were placing missile launchers nearby and trying to mine the strait. The strikes drew this complaint from an Iranian official through a translator.
It is not the first time we are witnessing these contradictions from the United States. In fact, one of the problems in our negotiations is these inconsistencies and contradictions in their behavior. This is not a new issue.
So what are the odds of a deal coming from the current mess? Not great, according to retired Vice Admiral Mark Fox, who tells Fox News.
The Iranians are playing for time. They continue to do this. Putting mines in the water is not exactly non-provocative. We should be a lot more direct in this, and I just don't see how this, quote, deal is going to materialize with the intransigence of the Iranian regime.
Despite the weekend military action, President Trump says it doesn't mean the ceasefire is over. During a roundtable event at the White House, Vice President J.D. Vance updating efforts to combat rampant fraud, saying investigators have uncovered schemes to siphon $20 billion in taxpayer funds, most of those involving health care services such as Medicaid and hospice.
This is people who rely on critical services, students who rely on student loan services, sick people who rely on hospice care.
Vance has been assigned by Trump to head up the White House anti-fraud task force. Well, President Trump says don't include him on any list of sick people. After getting a 6-month checkup at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center today, he said he was perfect. This marked Trump's 4th publicly disclosed medical evaluation during his 2nd term in office. Haven't heard many details about the nature of those other visits. Early voting underway now in the South Carolina primaries, as state lawmakers there debate whether to redraw the map. Democratic State Congressman James Clyburn blasting the Republican effort at a news conference today.
Nothing has made me more incensed than to see this kind of imposition on the people of South Carolina. The people who drew that map don't live in South Carolina.
Conservatives say there's been a mass movement into the state and congressional maps should reflect the political views of people living there right now. Meantime, Texans have only a few hours left to vote in a pivotal race before the midterms. The Republican primary runoff for the U.S. Senate pits incumbent Senator John Cornyn against State Attorney General Ken Paxton. Just last week, President Trump announced his endorsement of Paxton, effectively turning the race on its head. The trial for former FBI Director James Comey related to allegedly threatening Trump has been delayed until fall.
Federal prosecutors have argued the image Comey posted on social media showing seashells arranged on a beach to read 8647 was a serious expression of intent to harm the president. Comey deleted the post and had said it didn't occur to him that it would be interpreted as violent. The former FBI director plans to file multiple motions to dismiss the charges. If those are denied, Comey will be arraigned in North Carolina on September 30th, with the trial set to begin October 21st. I'm at Mattinson.
Well, next, an update on the prevention of a chemical spill or fire in Orange County, California, where there were once 50,000 people evacuated. They've made enough headway now that a fire crew was able to turn off one of the master hose streams pouring water on that damaged tank, says this fire captain.
So the threat, it has been greatly reduced, but with that, there still remains the potential for it to catch fire or a chemical spill leak.
About 16,000 people remain displaced near the scene of that chemical plant. NASA wants to return to the moon and beyond. Today, NASA Administrator Jarek Isaacman laying out the agency's ambitious plans to build a permanent moon base and eventually launch missions from there further into space. Isaacman announcing the first 3 stages of the moon base missions that he hopes to be launched before the end of this year. Still to come here on the 5 o'clock report, we'll have a recap for you of our top regional stories and highlights from today's Mission Pulse feature. First, weather with Ken.
This is meteorologist Ken McKinley with our Family Life forecast as we head on through this evening and tonight. Skies becoming mainly clear in all areas, temperatures falling off into the 50s. It'll be a warm day tomorrow with a lot of sunshine pretty much from start to finish. Temperatures into the 80s in most all locations. The coolest readings will be along the Lake Erie shoreline of western New York and northwestern Pennsylvania. Look for generally fair weather through tomorrow night as well. And some sunshine on Wednesday, but a cold front dropping down from the north will lead to a couple of showers in spots and maybe an isolated thundershower in some spots, especially New York locations. And temperatures will again be 80 or a bit higher as we head through the day on Wednesday.
Thanks, Ken. Now checking the stories making news where you live. Across New York and Pennsylvania, a Buffalo police officer in the Erie County Medical Center right now after being shot this afternoon. It happened on Sherman Street in the city, where there remains a large police presence. The condition of the officer and any other details about that incident aren't being released yet. Closing in on a new New York State budget. We get an update on that situation from Family Life's Sarah Harnish.
Yeah, the piecemeal process of finalizing the state's new spending plan resumed today in Albany. After keeping state government running through a series of temporary spending measures, lawmakers are now in the process of passing the final series of packages that make up the overall budget, which will be north of $260 billion. Already approved are changes to the school aid formula, a 5-year delay in an electric bus school mandate, and controversial ICE reform measures. This is the latest state budget in 16 years. Sarah Harnish, Family Life News.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Next to southeastern Pennsylvania, where Governor Josh Shapiro was talking this afternoon.
I want to say it is good to be back in West Reading, and it's good to be here on a day where we can celebrate good things.
Shapiro there for a program called Main Street Matters, where the state will invest millions to improve downtown areas across dozens of Pennsylvania cities, including West Reading.
I wanted to be here today because I believe in Main Streets. I believe they're the beating heart of a community, and I think you can tell a lot about a broader community, a bigger county, by walking its Main Street and seeing its vitality and seeing how well the businesses are doing there.
The governor announcing $17 million in funding for 56 new projects statewide. The cash can be put toward projects like improving the facades of downtown businesses, small business grants, lighting, sidewalks, housing, and security in cities across the Keystone State. People heading home from the Memorial Day holiday got some more sticker shock at the pump. Prices are 42% higher in New York and Pennsylvania than they were a year ago. This driver telling WNEP.
They've gone out of control. It makes it hard to commute and live with the prices going up.
GasBuddy.com says drivers altogether nationwide paid $2 billion more in gas just over the past weekend. Drivers in Monroe County, PA feeling it too.
It wasn't much of a hassle to come up here like every weekend, but it's gotten less and less because of the gas prices.
I filled up on Thursday, filled up when I got there, and now I'm filling up again. Every time it's over $150 just to fill up my truck. It's ridiculous if you ask me, but what are you going to do?
Ernest Welcome is from Stroudsburg. He wasn't able to visit his family out of state over the weekend because of the price of the pump.
It's a hurting feeling, but this is just part of life. Go through ins and outs, ups and downs, and I figure this is just one of the downs, but eventually I'm hoping we'll get it together. Prices come back down, so I'm just trying to stay on the positive side of it,
Pennsylvania averaging $4.59 a gallon today, about the same in New York. Twin brothers from Buffalo, New York, crossed the finish line Sunday for the first of 3 marathons. Dan and Matt Murray finished the Buffalo Marathon on Sunday. Dan ran the race, pushing Matt in a wheelchair, and they finished in 4 hours, 41 minutes, 56 seconds. The brothers are raising awareness for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Matt was diagnosed with the condition at the age of 3. A trio of organizations raised money for the brothers to get a special racing wheelchair. Their next stop, the Chicago Marathon in October. Up next, highlights from today's Mission Pulse feature. A group of church churches in central New York is adopting the entire nation of El Salvador for Compassion International. They're bringing an interactive bus to the Empire State to show you what it's like. Grace Christian Fellowship Pastor Dan Nichols.
Compassion International is an awesome organization that releases children from poverty in Jesus' name. And our church, and actually several churches around central New York, are adopting El Salvador.
Wow. Is that normal to adopt an entire country?
No, but we believe that God's kingdom has no turf wars, and we love it when the capital C church comes together rather than staying isolated. So our network, Northeast Collaborative, is bringing together churches who want to do this together. And Compassion has actually told us they haven't really seen this before. They've worked with a lot of large churches, but individual local churches, not necessarily multiple churches taking on a nation that currently has around 10,000 unsponsored children. And Compassion's bringing a truck that gives a simulated experience in our parking lot for several days for families and children to kind of, experience what it's like to go to another nation like El Salvador and experience what children experience in nations that are developing like they are.
When is this happening?
Ours at Grace Christian Fellowship in Cortland is going to be on August 16th. So the truck is going to be in our parking lot for 2 days leading up to and including our Compassion Sunday on August 16th. And we're just inviting other churches and other followers of Jesus, and even those who don't follow Jesus but care about releasing children from poverty. We'd love for you to consider jumping on board with this really awesome initiative.
This is pretty crazy. So 7 churches in upstate New York have bonded together, which hasn't been done, sponsored an entire nation, El Salvador, and are asking other churches to take part so that people can come and experience this truck in August.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's 2 different stories, 2 different children that are from different nations, and you would go into this truck with your family and you would have headphones where you're going to listen to a narrated walkthrough, and you're going to be in simulated homes similar to what my wife Joy and I experienced when we went to El Salvador ourselves last year. So we got to take a trip with Compassion and enter into the homes of families who were receiving incredible help through the child development centers. And so instead of taking that trip, this truck experience will allow a narrated walkthrough of what it's like to live in another country and to experience poverty, unlike what we have here in the United States.
I love your heart for these kids and the work that you're doing. And I love that you've been there because you can speak from experience because you've seen it firsthand. And has there been a shift in you from going on that trip? Have you seen a big impact from the work that you've been doing there?
Yeah, so we went to one child development center that was providing clean water at like 80% more affordable rate than the going rate in town. So they were saving their town 80% of costs to have clean water so that they wouldn't have this disease that was going through the town. And it was amazing to see that firsthand, but to also see people taking the call to be the hands and feet of Jesus seriously. And I think oftentimes in American Christianity, we can kind of fall into this thing I would call cultural Christian, where it's like, yeah, Jesus is cool, but it doesn't really affect my day-to-day life. But in El Salvador, we saw it in real time where they're actually looking at their community and going, man, like we can make a difference. We can make a change. And that was amazing to see firsthand.
By having people come and walk through this truck, what are you hoping the outcome will be?
I'd love for us to invest in a vision that goes beyond our lifetimes. I had a mentor in high school who told me, Dan, if your vision can be fulfilled in your lifetime, then your vision is far too small. So El Salvador is a nation in transition. The gang activity has been cleaned up for the most part, but now they're in a season of now what? What about infrastructure and healthcare and education and taking care of many fatherless children whose fathers are in jail because of gang activity? And so, man, just an amazing thing when you start to invest in not just the here and now, but you get to invest in eternity.
That's Grace Christian Fellowship Pastor Dan Nichols. You can hear the entire feature online anytime by clicking on Mission Pulse at Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, or FamilyLife.org. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Do you know what it actually costs you to live each month? Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. It's one of the most important numbers in your financial life, yet many people don't know it. In Proverbs 27:23, we're told, "Know well the condition of your flocks." In today's terms, that means understanding your financial reality. Your true cost of living isn't just rent and groceries. It includes savings, giving, and those irregular expenses that catch you off guard. When you track it, you gain clarity, and clarity leads to faithfulness. It helps you align your spending with your values and with God's priorities. So start there. Know your numbers, because when you know where your money is going, you can direct it toward what matters most. Discover the best Christian financial articles, podcasts, and videos by visiting our website, faithfi.com, or by downloading FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store.
Thank you, Rob. Finally at 5.
I can't believe I'm about to talk to the little red-haired girl.
She was the girl of Charlie Brown's dreams, and on this World Redheads Day, we salute those blessed with blazing locks. Less than 2% of the world's population is born with naturally red hair. It's most common among those with Northern European roots. Technically, red hair gets its color from high levels of the pigment pheomelanin, low levels of the darker pigment eumelanin. And here's some biblical trivia. Some believe Judas Iscariot had red hair, and that belief led to redheads being treated unkindly in ancient times. The country with the highest proportion of redheads, Scotland, just over 5%. But is it a vanishing trait? Experts at the Oxford Hair Foundation predict redheads could disappear by 2060. And that's the world we live in for Tuesday, May 26, 2026. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.